As a roller coaster enthusiast, your coaster count is basically your sense of pride. Currently, my coaster count sits at 196, just shy of 200. Hopefully I can break 200 coasters here really soon, but anyways, some coaster enthusiasts, in attempting to pad their numbers, sometimes are left with a dilemma, trying to figure out what actually counts as a coaster credit and what does not. In today's video, I thought it would be fun running down the criteria I follow when deciding what counts as a new credit and what doesn't. Please note, this is my own personal opinion, so we may disagree on a few points, which is okay. Again, there is no really rule to follow. Again, this is roller coasters, it's about having fun. Rule number 1. Every roller coaster is its own single credit, meaning no roller coaster can be counted twice. Just because you rode Diamondback over 1,000 times still doesn't change that credit from being 1 credit. Rule number 2. Different seat, still the same credit. I could see some people might say, hey, let's ride in the back row and call it a new credit because it's like a completely new experience. Sure, the front and back of the roller coaster have different experiences, which is great for re-rideability, but someone doesn't need to ride in every seat to earn the full credit or get additional credits. 1 roller coaster is 1 credit. Rule number 3. Racing roller coasters count as 2 credits, as long as you ride on both sides. Okay, so this is where I'm sure I'll differ from others. Some think that a racing coaster is basically the same thing on both sides, so it's all the same credit, or others say it's a half credit until you ride both sides. I don't do half credits. I think that's silly. You still get a complete experience regardless of what side you ride on, but for those who want the experience, the extra credit, as we'll say, will go ahead and ride the opposing side. Rule number 4. Depending on the situation, a MOBIUS coaster can count as 2 credits. In this case, you're wondering what a MOBIUS coaster is. It basically means a dueling racing roller coaster that's actually 1 long track and not 2 separate tracks. An example is Racer at Kennywood. Even though it's 1 long track and it sounds like a MOBIUS coaster should be a half credit for each side, no, I'll still say it's 1 credit, regardless of what side you sit on. You still get a whole roller coaster experience. So the rules still apply like any other racing coaster. Now, if a MOBIUS coaster never goes back to the station, like for loading or unloading, then it's just 1 credit. An example is Twisted Colossus. That's 1 credit. West Coast Racers, their new coaster opening this year, is also just 1 credit. These 2 MOBIUS coasters never return to the station, though, well, West Coast Racer does travel through it, but anyways, they're 1 long roller coaster and it's 1 complete experience. Rule number 5. Mountain coasters are roller coasters. This one blows my mind that some people won't count a mountain coaster as a coaster credit. It's a roller coaster through and through. Sure, you can apply the brakes, but even some older coasters had a ride attendant that rode the train to operate the brakes. It's no different. You're still coasting down the mountainside. It's all kinetic energy. Rule number 6. Powered coasters are roller coasters. This is another debatable rule, and I can see why some wouldn't count these as a roller coaster, since they are powered for the entirety of the ride. But they still function and act like a roller coaster, and they do coast somewhat, I believe, so I'm sticking to the rule and calling them a roller coaster. Number 6. LARSON loopers are not credits. Sorry, Carnival fans, or Six Flags fans, a LARSON loop is not a credit. It's literally a giant wheel. It's 1 giant train connected all the way around, it never coasts, and is completely controlled by drive wheels for 100% of the time. Rule number 8. The SKYWARP models or any similar type models are actually roller coasters. They may look very similar to a LARSON loop, but in fact they are quite different. For starters, the trains are very long, but aren't a complete connected circle. The ride is powered very similar to a LARSON loop, but it does coast for some portion of the ride, thus making it a roller coaster. Also, to back my stance on this, RCDB also lists these as roller coasters, so there you go. Rule number 9. Log flumes or shoot the rapids type rides are not coaster credits. They feature drops that are very similar to roller coasters, but they are more like slides than roller coasters. These rides do have wheels, which are there to assist the boat or flume when they're traveling down the drops, but all in all, it's not a roller coaster. A water coaster, say like Journey to Atlantis, is a roller coaster since it actually traverses, or better word, coasts down complete sections of track. Rule number 10. A roller coaster that has been removed from one location and rebuilt at a new location is considered a new credit. As an example, Chang, originally at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom, is 1 credit. Once it got moved to Six Flags Great Adventure, it became a new credit as Green Lantern. The only exception to this rule will be Incredible Hulk at Islands of Adventure. I don't think or consider that a new credit since the ride wasn't moved to a new location. They literally just tore the entire thing down and rebuilt it right back up. So yeah, the original layout has been left the same. Rule number 11. A roller coaster that has been significantly modified will count as a new credit. An example would be Steel Phantom, Phantom's Revenge. However, something like Timberwolf at World of Fun, I still consider to be the same credit after it was modified. The main portion of the ride is still the same except for that updated overbank turn. Rule number 12. Continuing on with our last rule, if a coaster alters the style of coaster, say goes from stand-up to floorless or sit-down, it's a new credit. The ride experience is completely changed, even though it's the same layout. Rule number 13. Our final rule, clone coasters are all their own credit. So yeah, even though you rode Great White at SeaWorld, you can still get yourself another credit by riding Batman the Ride at basically every Six Flags park. It's a different ride, it's a different credit, even if it's the same layout. Alright, well I think that's enough of coaster nerd talk for one day. So what do you think of my rules? Do you have any suggestions or disagree with anything? Let me know in the comments. Please subscribe, check out more of my other content, and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.